Delhi got a makeover, people got a long weekend, gold and silver plated tableware was going to be used for leaders of the world visiting India for G20. But what is G20? And was it a big deal that India was hosting the G20 summit?
It is a very big deal. It is a very big deal because in our diplomatic history, we have never had this many powerful nations. Their leaders come to India.
G20 or the Group of 20 comprised 19 countries and the European Union. Because so many countries were in this group, it made for 2/3 of the world population. Some of the world's largest economies were part of this group. Altogether, the group accounted for 75% of international trade and 80% of the world's gross domestic production. This group met every year to discuss economic and financial issues. G20 was founded in 1999 as a response to the Asian financial crisis, which began in Thailand. But the heads of all member countries actually met for the first time after the 2008 financial crisis. The group's discussions were not limited to just economics anymore. Over the last few years, they addressed the COVID crisis and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. India held the group's presidency in 2023, which meant it was leading the group and hosting its summit. It was looking to discuss development, climate action, and the problems of the global south, which meant developing countries. Brut is at a circle in Mandi House, Delhi, where all the flags of the countries who are going to visit India during the G20 summit have been put up. The main task of the G20 summit was for all the countries to come to a consensus and release a declaration of the same. In Indonesia, which held the presidency before India, all the countries were able to come to a conclusion despite the Russia-Ukraine crisis. But more challenges lay ahead of India during its presidency, with the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin sitting out of the summit. And the Russia-Ukraine war was yet another difficult discussion because the West and Russia were likely to have different stances on the war.
This is a very difficult and challenging time for the world. It is a difficult time because the world is under great economic stress, under supply chain stress. There is very strong political polarization. Even to get all the major countries to sit around the table itself requires a lot of diplomacy. So, for us to take up this responsibility at this time is something truly exceptional.